Laura Nero's Eli and the 13th Confession is the 463rd greatest album of all time, according to Rolling Stone. This album is Laura Nero's second release on March 13th, 1968. 46 minutes, 15 seconds long on Columbia Records, produced by Laura Nero and Charlie Kaleo. What did you think of this one, Kyle?
Hey, it's Kyle. Just jumping in real quick to ask, do you approve this groove? Let us know in the comments. Give us a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation. So I'm starting to start a new thing with the albums as I'm listening to them, where I'm playing some of them for my kids and getting their reactions from them, especially my daughter. She's the one that's like, I think is the budding music fan. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and especially an album like this, she's very interested in female singers. So especially when we have a female lead artist album, I'll play it for her and see what she thinks. So I had this on in the car the other day, let it play for a couple of songs, and I said, well, what do you think about this? She goes, um, it kind of sounds like nonsense. It's beautiful, but it sounds like nonsense. And I was like, you know what? That's about right.
Yeah.
That's about right. And the more I listen to it, like, yeah, I liked the vocal melodies. Like the vocal melodies were really wild, like really jazzy, like unpredictable, wild vocal melodies. But I couldn't understand a damn word she was saying half the time.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
there were things that I liked about it for the first few songs, but then it kind of just seemed like, oh, this is what you're going to do in every single song. So it kind of got boring.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
the tempo changes and
Uh-huh.
the shifting vibes within a song. Like it would start with as like a typical like 60s pop song, but then shift into kind of a, more of an R&B or a funk song with a different tempo and then shift back again. And the first couple of times it was pretty cool. But then it was like every song did that. I'm like, all right, okay, so that's just your thing then. Like it was what it was. Um, but yeah, after my daughter said that, I was like, yeah, it's beautiful, but it's kind of nonsense.
Um, I think I had a similar takeaway. Like, I mean, I've thought about this, but whatever. This was almost so singer-songwriter to me that it was like too much inside baseball. Like, I didn't, I didn't enjoy didn't the lyrics of this stuff is so in your face, or the melody, the vocals are so in your face, like that's what I couldn't escape.
Yeah.
um and yeah, there's this storytelling and weirdness, and I found like her vocal melodies and falsetto to be annoying. I know I texted you a couple days ago, I was
Hmm.
like, this album's just annoying to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like it. I mean, I am not a trained ear when it comes to these references, but like, I if you played one of her songs and then like maybe a Joni Mitchell song back to back, I don't know that I would be able to tell the difference. Um, and maybe that's just, well, I'm sure it's my naivety in there, but like, her voice sounded very familiar, but this is the first I've ever heard of her.
Hmm.
Um, one of the things I thought was interesting was that two of her songs were actually made much bigger when they were covered. Um, was it Three Dog Night covered Eli's Comin', and I forget who the other one. Oh, the Fifth Dimension took Stoned Soul Picnic. Um, Three Dog Night went as high as number 10 on the charts with Eli's Comin', and the Fifth Dimension went to number 3 with Soul Picnic, and they took Sweet Blindness to number 13.
Wow.
So when I consider like, because this is, to me, especially in this crop of 10 albums, I kept trying to figure out like what about this album is causing it to be on this list. And the only thing I could figure out is that She's a singer-songwriter. She does have, like you mentioned, this kind of placement within the folk jazz, especially the vocal stuff. And then her songs were beloved in other uses.
But yeah,
Nothing vibed with me.
no,
Like, again, I had a hard time getting through this album.
yeah. I
Yeah, I really, really did.
as much as as much as I appreciated her vocal melodies because they were so crazy, I think what you were saying, yeah, it kind of hit home for me there too, where it was almost like she was showing off her
Yeah,
ability to sing those melodies to the point where a lot of times the vocal the vocals, the singing and the melody kind of clashed with the music.
it reminds me of this line. I don't know if it's a quote. I know it's the album title of it's an album title from the band I love called Manchester Orchestra. The album's title is "You Brainstorm, I Brainstorm, but Genius Takes a Good Editor." And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in this one, like she could have used some producing help. Like, and I say that like also understanding that sometimes an artist just gets out there and they just want to do what they want to do and put their thoughts on paper, so to speak, and let it stand for what it is. Many musicians don't record a thing to sell records or for it to be loved. But I do think there's something to be said for other bands taking her stuff and making it more appreciated and beloved. Um, and it also reminds me when we our first episode when we talked about Arcade Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, like, just because you can play all the instruments doesn't mean you need to. Like, just because you can do all this stuff
Yeah.
doesn't mean you need to.
Yep.
Like, but again, as maybe she had the time of her life doing exactly what she wanted. So, and if that's the case, then good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she did pass away from ovarian cancer in I think the early 2000s, something like that. So she was relatively young, but she was fairly prolific and was a musician for quite a while. Um, but yeah, this I gave this one a two. It's not one that I would return to. And that's probably kind. Like I said, I wouldn't return to it, but I could only take this one in very small doses.
Yeah. I was a 2.5, so
Yeah,
same
not
ballpark.
that far off.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Laura Nero, but we would not be with Eli confessing on this one. He's alone in this one. So also again, like what is that title? Like that's
I yeah.
how far down into the lore do you have to go to understand that? I don't whatever. I've given this album more time than I care to. Moving on.
Moving on. Hey, thanks for watching. We'd love to know what you think of this album, so let us know in the comments. Do you approve this groove? And as always, a quick thumbs up helps a lot. Subscribe so you can see all 500 albums, and we'll see you on the next record.